Now, for some, full of hope. For others, already full of controversy. This is Donald Trump. He's today set to preside over the first meeting of his Board of Peace. Unresolved questions on the future of Gaza still hanging over the event, expected to include representatives from more than 45 nations, the disarmament of Hamas militants, the size of the reconstruction fund, and the flow of humanitarian aid to the war-battered populace of Gaza among the major questions. That is, the board still includes Israel, but not Palestinian representatives, and of course Trump's suggestion that the board could eventually address challenges beyond Gaza. Well, before we talk about all the latest, let's hear from the White House.
President Trump will host a Board of Peace meeting at the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, where he will announce that member states have pledged more than $5 billion towards the Gaza humanitarian and reconstruction efforts, and have also committed thousands of personnel to the International Stabilization Force and local police to maintain security and peace for Gazans.
Caroline Levitt there with Philip Turle, International Affairs Editor, is with me here on set. Philip, just remind us first of all then what this Board of Peace is, what it actually intends to do.
Right, well, first of all, this Board of Peace is basically all about Donald Trump. I'll just sum it up with a statement that was printed in the US press this week, this quoting Donald Trump: "The most consequential international body in history ever assembled of any kind," and these talks are taking place today at the Donald J. Trump Institute for Peace, which was named the Donald J. Trump Institute for Peace by Donald Trump. So this is what the Board of Peace is all about. It has a $1 billion joining fee for countries who want to come on board for a permanent seat. 50 countries have been invited. About 26 or so have accepted so far. That's according to the French newspaper Le Monde. There have been 14 refusals. Now, this Board of Peace, as I said, is all about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been given the job of chairman for life, which means that he can carry on being head of the Board of Peace even after he is no longer president of the United States. There are executive members also on board, including Steve Witkoff, his special envoy, the one who's usually in Russia or the Middle East. There's Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, Mark Rowan, the CEO of Apollo Global Management, Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, Robert Gabriel Jr., who's a Deputy National Security Advisor, and two consultants. One of them is Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, and the other being Ajay Banga, the President of the World Bank. Now, 47 nations are expected to be in Washington today to take part in these talks. Of course, that is more than the 26 who have accepted membership of the Board of Peace, because there will be observers who won't have a role in deciding what is going to be decided there. There are several notable absentees from the Board of Peace. Many of the European Union countries have said they're not joining. France is not a member, neither is the United Kingdom, nor Canada, nor China. And as for Russia, many have been saying, well, how could Russia be member of a Board of Peace when it's a country that has invaded Ukraine and cannot possibly be a member of a peace-seeking organisation? They're not a member so far. The invitation has been sent out, but so far Vladimir Putin has not said whether or not he's going to come on board.
So what exactly is on the agenda for the talks then?
Basically today, Stuart, is going to be the Gaza peace proposal put forward by Donald Trump, which was adopted last year by the United Nations. Donald Trump says that he so far raised about $5 billion for humanitarian and reconstruction efforts in Gaza. But there are a series of problems that he is going to have to face. The first one is problem one is that these are just pledges. Many countries have said, OK, we're willing to come up with the money, but we're not going to give you the money until we have the assurances there is a proper peace proposal that's going to move forward in the Gaza Strip. There are too many uncertainties at the moment about whether or not this is going to hold, whether the war could start all over again. We're not going to invest money in a territory where we risk losing everything if the war is not already at an end. Problem two, there is very little progress so far in implementing this second part of the Gaza peace proposal. That's to say, the disarming of Hamas. Who is going to do that? The further withdrawal of the Israeli army. No date has been set for the Israeli army to fully withdraw from the Gaza Strip. And the third one is the arrival of an international stabilization force. Who is going to contribute soldiers to that? And when will that force be operational in the Gaza Strip? Problem three is it's still unclear who the signatories are going to be in Washington today. Benjamin Netanyahu's not going to be there. He's going to send his foreign minister. There will be no Palestinian representative because the 15-member Gaza National Administration Committee is not operational in the Gaza Strip yet. It's still in Cairo. It's not been invited to the Board of Peace. And Egypt and Turkey, who both said they are willing to get involved in trying to disarm Hamas, have not been accepted by the Israelis as bona fide people who can actually get involved in the peace process. So all of this looks incredibly complicated, and there are a lot of questions being raised as to how efficient all of this is going to be compared to what the United Nations could also be doing at the same time to try to implement some kind of peace agreement in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, of course, it does raise that crucial question, doesn't it? I mean, where does it leave the UN? Where does it also leave those countries like France, for example, that have refused to be part of the Board of Peace?
Well, as I said, as far as the countries that are not involved in this are concerned, basically the European Union, apart from Hungary, Viktor Orban, who has accepted a seat on the Board of Peace, and Canada and China, they are all expected to take on a role of just watching what's going on in the sidelines, but that means they can't take part in the discussions. It's Donald Trump who's pulling the strings here, and the delegates that have been part of the Board of Peace that have been accepted on are the ones who are going to have to make the final decisions. So what role those other countries are going to play, we don't really know right now. Now, there are three questions which need to be answered in conclusion to all of this. The first one is the security in the Gaza Strip. Who is going to ensure it? The police there are not fully trained. When is that going to be up and running? And when will Israel stop its attacks in the Gaza Strip? But since this ceasefire was signed back in October, 500 Palestinians are believed to have been killed and over 1,000 others have been wounded. Second question is Hamas. Who will negotiate with them, and who is going to disarm Hamas and make sure that Hamas is agreeing to be disarmed? What will the role be of the Palestinian Authority, which seems to have been pushed out of this completely? And third question in conclusion is, what about humanitarian aid? It needs to be stepped up. Since the ceasefire, Israel has banned 37 humanitarian organisations from coming into the Gaza Strip. It's unclear who's going to be in charge of humanitarian aid and what sort of form that humanitarian aid is going to take. Just to give you one example, no solid buildings are being allowed into the Gaza Strip. It's still only tents, and there are still many people who are suffering badly from the lack of ready, available food and water.
Philip, thanks very much. Philip Turle, International Affairs Editor here on France 24.